Tonight, Scotland says goodbye. The first farewell to Queen Elizabeth. The Queen's casket, adorned with the crown of Scotland, as she lies in rest inside Edinburgh's St. Giles Cathedral before heading home to London. Massive crowds of mourners lying in Edinburgh's Royal Mile today, trying to catch a glimpse of her hearse and the new king, who was marching behind his mother. Her children also standing beside her coffin inside St. Giles Cathedral before the public was let in to say goodbye to the Queen they loved. The Queen's death also sparking a royal reunion. The new Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Kate, walking side by side with Harry and Meghan. Harry also breaking his silence on the Queen's death and adding that he will honor his father's new role. So are the brothers simply coming together for their family, or could this be the end of a rift between them? The Queen's connection to the public on full display, mourners across the UK leaving flowers, notes, and even stuffed teddy bears in her honor. And here in Scotland, thousands waiting several hours to pay tribute. What they told me about her lasting impact. Also tonight, Russia on the run. New footage released by Ukrainian forces appearing to show an ambush on Russian troops as Ukraine makes a shocking advance in Russian-held territories. Residents in Kharkiv sobbing as they greeted Ukrainian soldiers. But now, Russia responding with full force. And summer of extremes, the new video of a family getting swept up in flash flooding in California. Massive wildfires and mudslides also battering the state. And in the Midwest, torrential rain flooding homes and roads, where the system is heading next. A special edition of Top Story, live from Edinburgh, Scotland, starts right now. And good evening. Tonight we are live from Edinburgh, Scotland, where the public has joined the royal family in saying goodbye to the beloved Queen Elizabeth II in her second home. Just behind me in the far distance is St. Giles Cathedral. And this is a live look on the ground in front of that historic church, where mourners are still lining up to pay their respects to the Queen, who is lying in rest inside. Some waiting 9 hours. It is cold. People are tired. It is very late here in Scotland, and yet they are still waiting. And earlier today, thousands of people cramming the Royal Mile as a coffin carrying Britain's longest-serving monarch traveled to that cathedral in a procession. Marching behind her, her son, King Charles, the new king, along with the Queen's 3 other children following closely behind their mother's hearse. Those paying respects at St. Giles will be met with this striking image: the Queen's flag draped coffin topped with the crown of Scotland. As the royal family mourns the loss of their matriarch, brothers Prince Harry and Prince William together and with their wives, despite that reported rift between them. Across the UK, the tributes, flowers, Paddington bears, even marmalade sandwiches left at growing memorials for the Queen. But it's not just in the UK. Millions more across continents watching these farewell events at home, showing the Queen's legacy stretching far beyond Britain's borders. Emerging from her palace, bagpipes in the air, and draped in the royal standard of Scotland, Queen Elizabeth II beginning her final journey home to England.
God bless the Queen!
The Queen's coffin, adorned with flowers from her beloved Balmoral estate, dahlias, pine fir, and her favorite sweet peas, placed in the back of a hearse for a somber procession from her Holyrood house to St. Giles Cathedral. King Charles III, in full military regalia, solemnly marching behind his mother's casket, uphill through Edinburgh. Mourners packing the Royal Mile, hoping for one final glimpse of their longest reigning monarch and a first look at their new king.
I'm very happy to have been here, and I'm happy for her that she died in Scotland, where she loved.
King Charles flanked by his siblings, Princess Anne, Prince Edward, and Prince Andrew, noticeably marching in civilian attire. A heckler pulled from the crowd and arrested by police after shouting at Prince Andrew, who was stripped of his royal titles in the wake of sexual misconduct allegations and his close ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Guarding the Queen's hearse, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, and right next to them, sporting those large feathers, the Royal Company of Archers, the King's personal bodyguards when in Scotland. The procession then turning into the west facade of the cathedral, built in the 14th century. Inside, the voices of a choir. The Queen led to the center of the church, where she will lie in state for the next 24 hours. The crown of Scotland placed on her coffin. Local leaders joining the royal family for an elaborate ceremony.
So we gather to bid Scotland's farewell to our late monarch, whose life of service to the nation and the world we celebrate, and whose love for Scotland was legendary.
Following the ceremony, the rush to see the monarch inside and witness history.
To actually see the Queen's coffin is no easy task. That's St. Giles Cathedral, where the Queen is lying in rest right now. But the line to actually see her stretches blocks all the way down that way. There are barricades everywhere, people everywhere, confused. It's going to take a lot of time to actually get there.
Is it worth the wait?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why is that?
The Queen was just unique. It's the least I can do to come here and pay my respects.
Some standing in line for more than 9 hours for just a few seconds in front of the Queen, like these two veterans we met.
We've been told we're not allowed to pause, and we've just got to carry on walking straight through, so there won't be much time really. So just salute and pass one by.
You feel you owe it to her?
Absolutely. Yeah, she was our Queen.
The King departing St. Giles to a muted round of applause. Meeting the First Minister of Scotland behind closed doors before addressing Scottish Parliament for the first time as monarch. Dressed in a traditional kilt, the King paying homage to the land his mother loved so dearly.
Through all the years of her reign, the Queen, like so many generations of our family before her, found in the hills of this land and in the hearts of its people a haven and a home.
The speech, His Majesty's second of the day. In London, King Charles delivering his first speech to British Parliament, making him the only monarch to do so before the cameras.
I am deeply grateful for the addresses of condolence by the House of Lords and the House of Commons, which so touchingly encompass what our late sovereign, my beloved mother, the Queen, meant to us all.
Beneath the vaulted ceiling of Westminster Hall, the King paying tribute to his mother and vowing to uphold the principles of a constitutional government.
She set an example of selfless duty, which, with God's help and your counsels, I am resolved faithfully to follow.
The Queen's children beside her coffin tonight in Scotland for the ceremonial Vigil of the Princes. Before her devoted public was let inside the cathedral walls. Thousands honoring the Queen in the breathtaking landscape that came to be her second home.
And tonight, as we showed you earlier, they are still waiting outside St. Giles Cathedral. For an in-depth look now at some of those powerful moments we saw today, I want to bring in my friend and senior international correspondent, Keir Simmons, who's live from Buckingham Palace tonight for Top Story. Keir, there were so many moments from today. Is there one that stuck out to you that you will not forget?
Well, you know, Tom, there was the pomp and the pageantry and the deeply, deeply personal, but there was one moment when a Scottish leader told a story about the Queen that was funny. And then the cameras cut to King Charles, and he laughed, and then he sighed for a moment, Tom. And I thought, in that moment, what you saw was a man who knew that his mother could never be just his, belonged to all of the public, and a man who knows that his life now belongs to the British public. I felt like you saw his enjoyment of his mother's success, Queen Elizabeth, and also his understanding of the weight of responsibility of the role that he now holds.
And I want to talk to you more about that role, Keir, because this was a big day for him. Not just what happened with his mother and the procession today, but he spoke to members of Parliament in both Scotland and in London. How is that all being received?
He is being received warmly, I have to say. He's performing, if you want to call it that, in the way that you would hope that a man who has waited so long might perform. You know, for those, Tom, who have lost a loved one, they will know what I'm talking about. After that moment, there's a pause. Differences are put aside. Questions are left aside for a while as everybody mourns. And I think in that there is a lot of goodwill for King Charles. There are many years ahead, Tom, but I suppose you could say he's off to a good start.
You know, Keir, throughout the broadcast, we've been showing those live images outside of St. Giles Cathedral where people are waiting right now. It is very late here in Scotland, as you know. It is somewhat cold. People have been waiting hours. We have the pictures up right now. Keir, I want you to explain to our viewers, what was it about the Queen that is compelling people, at least in this country, to wait up to 9 hours? And they're saying once she gets to London, the wait could be 30 hours. Yeah, people will bring... they will bring camping equipment. They might even bring tents in the street. They'll bring warm clothes, except, of course, that they're being told, and as you were told by those folks in that line there that you were speaking to, Tom, they're being told that they have to keep moving, so it's going to be difficult. But let me put it this way. Say it takes 24 hours. What is 24 hours, perhaps in the cold or in the British rain, for a woman who gave her life to this country, Tom? Well said, Keir. Keir Simmons for us tonight. Keir, we appreciate it. One of the most talked about moments from the past few days, of course, that rare reunion of Princes William and Harry. NBC's Molly Hunter has a look inside that display of family unity.
It was a welcome reunion that took the country by surprise. Getting out of the same car, the new Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Kate, alongside Harry and Meghan.
We didn't imagine all four of them to be together, but I think that was the Queen's last wish.
We now know it was Prince William who reportedly offered the olive branch, reaching out to Harry and Meghan, inviting them to greet the crowds at Windsor. A suggestion, perhaps, coming from the new king before such a critical week.
I firmly believe it was Charles who tried to metaphorically bang their heads together and say, please, for me, for the future of the monarchy, for your father, can you put on a brave face and go out and give us a sign of unity?
And unity, at least for that brief hour, was seen and felt by the lucky thousands.
That was really special, actually. I was really surprised all four of them were together, and yeah, that's quite emotional, I think, being a Brit, seeing them, the two brothers, side by side.
Since Harry and Meghan famously left behind their royal duties, fueling the brotherly rift, Prince William has moved into the role he was born for, assuming his father's former title as the heir apparent, his official state responsibilities now a world away from Harry's new life in California.
Growing up, Princess Diana famously really wanted Harry and William to be equally important. Even though William's destiny was very different, he was always going to be the monarch. She didn't want Harry to feel less important, less significant.
In a new tribute to Granny, Harry says he's forever grateful for my earliest childhood memories to meeting you for the first time as my commander-in-chief. But the brothers strike different notes. While Harry pledges to honor his father's new role, William says he'll be supporting my father, the king, in every way I can as the next in line. And now it's William and Kate, the new Princess of Wales, Princess Diana's former title, who are the most popular members of the royal family, stepping into the spotlight, shouldering the responsibility of modernizing this monarchy.
Molly Hunter joins Top Story tonight outside of Westminster Hall. So, Molly, I guess the big question is, and it's the question everyone's been asking since we saw the two couples come together, will we see the brothers again?
Yeah, Tom, that is the big question. We have to remember their appearance over the weekend. That was unannounced. We had no idea that they were going to pair up like that they were all four going to show up. So looking at the schedule, looking ahead, there are a bunch of opportunities where we might see them together. I think a lot of us are looking at Wednesday when the Queen returns to London, when she will be lying in state at Westminster right behind me, and of course at the funeral, Tom.
So, Molly, you live in London, and I'm curious, how has the British press been treating Meghan Markle this time around?
Yeah, totally differently, actually, than certainly when she was last here. This was almost reminiscent of 2018. After Harry and Meghan got married in 2018, Tom, the four of them were out all the time. The press loved them. We know that obviously changed. And by the time Meghan and Harry left, Meghan was really vilified in the British press. This time, though, look, I think everyone is focused on the Queen. Everyone is focused on the new king. And she certainly got a much warmer welcome than I think she was probably expecting. Tom?
Molly Hunter for us tonight. Molly, we'll check in with you a little later. So what does this reunion mean for the royals and the future of Harry and Meghan's relationship to the royal family? I want to bring in Miko Cleland from MyHeritage, our expert on all things that have to do with the British royal family and also an Edinburgh local. So thank you so much for joining Top Story again tonight. So, Miko, my question to you is, Kensington Palace said it was Prince William who extended the invite to Harry and Meghan. What does that tell you that the palace actually put that information out there, saying that it was Prince William, the second in line to the throne now, that sort of extended that olive branch?
I think at myheritage.com, there are over 100 million people all looking for family. And I think that's the big thing. Sometimes you can find new siblings, new parents. And one thing I can speak to from personal experience, finding new siblings and knowing how important that sibling relationship is, you only get one family. It's so important. And these little steps, they're all right in the limelight. These people are really feeling the pressure. They're united in grief. And one of the things that we could bring back to is think of one of the last royal funerals and remember those two little boys walking behind their mother's carriage. These things can unite us far more. All families have ups and downs, but it was the Queen's own words when she said, it's often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. And here we see a small step that goes in the right direction.
So I mentioned you're a royal expert, and I have maybe a technical question. Today we saw Prince Andrew, and he was not in the military uniform. He has no longer royal duties. I wonder now about Prince Harry. Will we see him in the military uniform, or since they've left the royal family, per se, the royal duties, will he dress in civilian clothing?
Well, they're no longer working royals, but I think they still have a very close relationship. I think, now they've moved up a little bit further in the line to the throne, but I don't think we're going to see a King Harry anytime soon. But I think...
Do you think he'll be in the military uniform? We know the military is so close to his heart.
It's close to his heart, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think when they stepped away, they're no longer working royals. I don't think we'll see that. But I don't think that's going to change how close this relationship is between the two brothers.
Miko, finally, this is your hometown. This is the place you grew up in. What was today like for you?
Today was incredible. When you sit back and look at history, it's one thing to see, what your ancestors were doing, anything like that, but to see history being made in front of your very eyes is incredible. It's been 480 years since a monarch died in Scotland, and we've seen
480 years.
Yes, it might be 480 before it happens again, if ever. So if you can see any of this footage, just really take time and absorb it, because this is history. You're going to be telling future generations what happened, and this is really, really important.
Miko Cleland, our royal expert here in Edinburgh. Miko, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. And tributes from around the world continue to pour in on Buckingham Palace. Flowers, letters, and stuffed bears now crowding the royal gates as the world remembers the Queen. Here's NBC's Kelly Kobiea.
The ordinary, the extraordinary. Messages and memories. Many shedding a tear for the Queen, leaving a token. A small way just to say thank you for a life of service.
She means a lot to all the people here, and she's done so much for everyone, so we kind of need to honour her.
And a way to say goodbye. Drawings, cards, notes. Thank you for being the best queen ever, one read. Another with her beloved corgi. Tributes from mourners around the world, marking Queen Elizabeth's extraordinary life. Katerina Mostova and her family fled the war in Ukraine and brought her country's national flower, the sunflower, for the Queen.
Why did you come?
Because we want to make honor to Queen. This is so important for us.
Mountains of flowers and marmalade sandwiches. A nod to the Queen's surprise skit with the children's character Paddington Bear in June. Now so many sandwiches and stuffed bears, they're begging the public just to bring flowers. Members of the royal family are deeply touched.
Have you seen the messages? Yeah. Amazing. It's the little 7-year-olds, 11-year-olds messages get straight through every time.
Notes from children have only been alive for a fraction of the Queen's long reign, like this one. Thank you for showing the world how strong a woman can be. Kelly Kobiea, NBC News, Edinburgh, Scotland.
We want to pause our Royals coverage right now and turn to some other developing news we're following, this time in Ukraine. New images showing Russian artillery and tanks left behind as Ukraine strengthens its counteroffensive, taking back territory in the Kharkiv region. Could this be a turning point 200 days into this war? Megan Fitzgerald is on the ground for us.
In a fast and furious reaction, Russia launching missiles in Ukraine's east, striking critical infrastructure, plunging millions into the dark. The strike seen as retaliation as Ukraine sweeps through the Russian front line in a shocking advance. Ukraine now claims in the last 12 days they've taken back 2,300 square miles of Russian-held territory in the northeastern Kharkiv region. Ukraine putting out this video, an incredible scene as the Ukrainian flag is raised in a village east of Kharkiv. As many residents overcome with emotion, thanking the Ukrainian soldiers for liberating them. Ukraine releasing images showing Russian artillery and tanks left behind, as they say Russian soldiers were forced to withdraw. Ukraine's President Zelensky thanking his troops, saying the world is impressed and the enemy is panicking. UK's Ministry of Defense describes the territory Ukraine says it took back as twice the size of London, though Russia still controls the south and the east. Russia's President Putin not commenting on Ukraine's counteroffensive so far. A spokesperson only saying the Russian military operation is ongoing and will achieve its objective. But the question tonight, is this a turning point in the war?
And tonight, Ukraine is claiming it's not just Russian equipment they've captured, it's also Russian soldiers, saying they have so many POWs, they're running out of room. Tom?
Megan Fitzgerald for us. Megan, we thank you. Back at home, the extreme weather in the West. Flood watches are in effect in parts of the regions after mudslides forced dozens of rescues on the heels of record-breaking heat. Here's Miguel Almaguer.
Tonight, a year of extremes in just a matter of days. Historic heat, fires, floods, and now mudslides. The volatile western weather creating havoc for first responders and dangerous conditions for those suddenly in harm's way.
All these vehicles are stuck in about 2 feet of 20-mile-an-hour debris flow.
Outside Los Angeles, firefighters rescued more than 50, including young families who suddenly became trapped and caked in debris as a mudslide covered a canyon road.
It was terrifying.
On the heels of record-shattering heat, the remnants of Tropical Storm K brought flash flooding that soaked the region, downed trees, swamped neighborhoods, and sidewalk rescues. From floods to fires, there's been little relief. Across the West, more than 90 large wildfires are burning in a region mired in drought. Some 800,000 acres scorched from active fires as crews battle to gain the upper hand.
The flames were 300 feet in the air, the trees were exploding.
With entire communities under evacuations in recent days, 4 have been killed trying to escape the flames. And now after this crash, 3 firefighting personnel nearly lost their lives also trying to battle them. Tonight, the West can't catch a break from a sudden season of extremes. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
So for more on the fire danger out west, I want to bring in NBC News meteorologist Bill Karen. So, Bill, what's the latest on that heat?
Yeah, the heat has broken at least back to normal levels, but it did left its mark, obviously, with the record-breaking heat. It was the hottest week ever recorded in California's history, ever, last week. So we have 93 fires burning. We put little fire icons on this map to show you where they're all burning, and that's not a misprint. Northern Idaho and western portions of Montana, the air quality is horrendous right now because of all these blazes. So we have 93 active, what they call large fires burning right now, over 800,000 acres. There's an army of firefighters. About 20,000 firefighters are spread out on all of these blazes, and Idaho has the most. 34 large fires burning. You saw probably a lot of pictures from the one here just north of Yosemite and off to the west of Reno, almost near the Sacramento area. But that is where the mesquite fire is burning. And the air quality, Tom, is going to be horrendous over the next couple of days, especially with all that smoke blowing into the northern U.S.
Bill, that's incredible. 20,000 firefighters, but then you see all those wildfires burning out west. I also want to ask you about the Midwest hit by devastating flash flooding over the weekend. I know we have some video. Heavy rainfall in Chicago, sending water surging into basements and damaging homes. And that storm is threatening the nation's capital tonight?
Yeah, flood watches are up. We've had a couple of flood warnings north of Washington, D.C., and that was incredible. Yesterday, it wasn't just Chicago. Milwaukee, too, had over 4 inches of rain. It was a pretty, if you watch the football game there with the Bears against San Francisco, it was just, a deluge. It wasn't fun for anyone. And now that same storm system is plaguing areas around the nation's capital. The storms have already gone through. They're over the Chesapeake. We've got a couple of areas that have concern just north of Baltimore for flash flooding. Tomorrow, we'll watch those storms from Boston to Hartford, scattered storms in northern New England, but the worst of that storm is ending, Tom.
All right, Bill Cairns, a summer of extremes is right. Still ahead tonight, new details just in on that ongoing legal battle between the Department of Justice and former President Trump. Breaking news just in, we're going to have it right after the break. What we're learning about dozens of subpoenas issued in connection with efforts by Trump and his allies to overturn the 2020 election. Plus, failure after liftoff. Take a look at this. The Blue Origin rocket appearing to blow apart during a launch. So what happened? And we continue our coverage on Scotland's farewell to the Queen, a country that meant so much to Her Majesty. How its citizens gave that love right back. Stay with us. Top story, just getting started. All right, we are back now with breaking news. The Justice Department issuing 40 subpoenas in connection with investigations to former President Trump and his associates surrounding the January 6th riot and the efforts to overturn the 2020 election. That, according to two people familiar with the matter. I want to bring in NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. And Ken, I'm just looking at this for the first time, so I guess the first question has to be, what more do we know about these subpoenas, both who received them and what they were seeking?
Good evening, Tom. We are working on answering those questions right now. We have calls out to a lot of different people in Trump world. This was first reported by the New York Times, and it represents a significant escalation into this wide-ranging set of Justice Department probes. So we're talking about people involved in the effort to, as they put it, investigate the fraud. That was the role of, for example, former Commissioner Bernard Kerik, who was advising the Trump campaign in their efforts to overturn the election. His lawyer confirmed to me and to others that he received a subpoena last week for both documents and his testimony. And that lawyer, Timothy Parlatore, also represents Donald Trump in this investigation. He was rather critical of the Justice Department engaging in what he called a fishing expedition. And he said he was aware that a number of subpoenas have gone out. We're told it's around 40 to various different people inside of Trump world, associates of Donald Trump, people who also worked on fundraising opportunities around the January 6th, post-January 6th situation, and also those associated with the Stop the Steal movement that led up to the January 6th riot. So a sprawling, far-reaching, significant escalation in this Justice Department probe that is running parallel with the investigation that they are also doing into this Trump situation with the documents at Mar-a-Lago, Tom.
Ken, so if we can take a step back, but still focus on this breaking news now. I hear that number, 40 subpoenas. Can you walk our viewers through how unusual this is?
I mean, it's not unprecedented. I mean, the federal government does large grand jury investigations all the time. But for an investigation, this is not like a multiple defendant investigation, as far as we know. The subject appears to be Donald Trump and maybe a handful of people around him. So it is a pretty substantial investigative effort. They are, as the lawyer I talked to told me tonight, the subpoena was for anything and anyone associated with the Trump campaign and almost anything they knew about it. He was describing it as a broad effort. You know, the defense lawyers tend to impugn what the Justice Department is doing, but I take it from what he was saying that this is a really broad effort to sort of gather information about various strands of Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the election, about the actions leading up to January 6th, and about the effort to raise money to fund the January 6th Stop the Steal movement. So it's a pretty significant escalation, and we're getting close to an election, so it suggests that the Justice Department does not feel impeded by its traditional policy of not taking action too close to an election. After all, Donald Trump is not on the ballot this fall. There have been real questions about whether the DOJ would apply that policy, that tradition, and it appears that at least this week they're not doing that. These are grand jury subpoenas to Trump associates to come and testify, and they are mandatory, Tom.
All right, Ken, I know you're also following some other news for us tonight. The former president again and his team filing today to block the DOJ from viewing those seized documents. There's been a lot of back and forth over the past few days. Bring us up to speed on that.
Yeah, without getting into the legal minutia, I think the significance of that Trump filing today was that it sketched out potential defenses to these what could be potentially criminal charges related to the mishandling of these sensitive documents that were brought to Mar-a-Lago. So the Trump team is arguing that this is essentially a dispute about stored records and that there's nothing criminal about it, that basically it's between Donald Trump and the National Archives about the disposition of some presidential records. And the filing continually refers to alleged classified information. Essentially, they're saying the onus is on the Justice Department to prove that these records are classified, the ones they seize that have classification markings on them, because they're saying the president had the absolute authority to declassify. What they're not saying, they're not making the argument that he actually did declassify them, because there's no evidence for that. And lawyers can't go into court and argue something for which there is no evidence. But they're posing it as a potential defense. And also they're saying that the national security significance of this, according to the Justice Department, the Trump team says is quite overblown. So that's sort of, they're using this to argue against the special master, but really it adds up to what the defense is in this case, if in the event that Trump is charged, Tom.
Ken Delaney and jumping in front of his home cam for us tonight here on Top Story. Ken, we do appreciate that. When we come back, the largest nurses' strike in U.S. history. Thousands of Minnesota nurses walking off the job after months of failed negotiations. The allegations they're making against more than a dozen hospitals. Welcome back again from Edinburgh, Scotland tonight. We will have much more on the farewell to Queen Elizabeth in a moment, but we turn now to Top Story's news feed and the death of a former Major League pitcher turned police officer. Port Authority police say Officer Anthony Varvaro was killed in a head-on crash while on his way to work to the September 11th memorial ceremony in Manhattan. The 37-year-old retired from the MLB in 2016 to become a police officer. Authorities say the other driver, who was going the wrong way, was also killed. More than 15,000 nurses are on strike in Minnesota. Nurses from 16 hospitals say they are overworked due to staff shortages triggered by the pandemic and that it resulted in poor patient care. They are calling for wage increases, more paid time off, and new staffing plans. The three-day strike comes after months of failed contract negotiations with Minnesota's healthcare system. It's the largest private sector nurses strike in U.S. history. Now to the failure to launch involving Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket. Have you seen this video? It shows a fireball coming from the unmanned rocket moments after liftoff in West Texas. The crew compartment detached immediately as it was designed to and began falling back to Earth. The ship's parachutes guided it to a safe landing. The rocket, which had no humans on board, was carrying research projects. No word yet on what caused that issue. All right, we want to turn back now to our coverage on the death of Queen Elizabeth, her passing, changing many aspects of daily life here in the UK, from the national anthem and eventually to postage and passports. Even the money will eventually be changed with images of the new king. Here's NBC's Molly Hunter doing double duty for us tonight.
As the United Kingdom's longest reigning monarch, the name, image, and initials of Queen Elizabeth II have become a British staple. But with now King Charles III's ascension to the throne, the monarchy is set to see a changing of the guard for the first time in more than 70 years.
We are going to have so many changes. We have to change the passport, the money, all and everything.
The most immediate change already in place. Lyrics to the national anthem reverted back to God Save the King, sung for the first time in decades at a memorial service for Queen Elizabeth and then at sporting events throughout the weekend. Other, more visible changes are also in the works. Queen Elizabeth was the first monarch to appear on postage, and now new stamps will need to be redesigned with an image of the king. Her Majesty's iconic royal cipher, first introduced in the 50s, will also be retired.
Draft order.
And while the new king's monogram has yet to be officially revealed, he appeared to give the public a little sneak peek at His Majesty's motif on Sunday, wearing a tie clip with a crown above the letters CR, which stands for Charles Rex, Latin for king. The new monogram will be featured on flags, police helmets, and British coins. Even those iconic red mailboxes are adorned with E2R for the late Queen. While those will stay in place as they have for past monarchs, new post boxes will be updated with the initials of the newest ruler. And while the $95 billion worth of paper money featuring the Queen's image will still be considered legal tender, notes with Charles's face will likely eventually be introduced into circulation. And once the King's currency is in British wallets, it might be used to purchase products with a royal warrant appointment signifying they're used in the royal household. Brands like Coca-Cola, Cartier, even Heinz tomato ketchup will need an updated seal that reads, "By appointment to His Majesty the King." And of course, there are thousands of souvenirs that will likely hit gift shop shelves in the coming weeks. Queen Elizabeth graced everything from collectible cutlery to playing cards.
Oh, hail the King!
And now only time will tell what knickknacks will be embellished with the likeness of the new king.
So many knickknacks, so many souvenirs. Now, Tom, we are in a really touristy part of London. We ran around, spoke with a couple of the souvenir shops around here. They put the timeline on any new King Charles merch and swag, kind of 2 to 6 months. Any big decision about printing new money, for example, that kind of thing is going to come after the national mourning period. I can confirm, however, that schools around London are singing the new national anthem. That would be God Save the King. Tom?
Molly Hunter pulling double duty for Top Story tonight. Molly, we do appreciate it. Now to the Americas, focusing on stories from the U.S. and Latin America. With all eyes on Buckingham Palace, the conversations around the royal family have not all been positive. Our Kerry Sanders is in Jamaica tonight, a former British colony where the legacy of the crown is directly tied to slavery. And now some people there are asking for an apology and even reparations.
In former British colonies around the world, flags at half-staff, including in India, once part of the sprawling British Empire.
I remember her in such a way that she's just like our mother's figure.
The Queen often visited Britain's colonies and former colonies. Today, there are 14 Commonwealth realms where the King is still recognized as the head of state, including here in Jamaica.
Are you mourning the Queen's death?
No.
No, because?
No. Her passing is regrettable. But she's not that close to us for us to be mourning.
Jamaica historian Cliff Hughes says this country's beautiful shores hold an ugly past, slavery. The enslaved forced to the West Indies by the Royal African Company. They harvested sugar, known as green gold.
It built England, it built the streets, it built the big businesses.
That's the value of sugar at the time.
Yes.
The new king, Charles III, now inherits that legacy.
When slavery was finally abolished, those who were the enslavers were paid £20 million, which was 40% of Britain's annual budget.
And how much were the slaves themselves who were now free given?
Not 1 cent.
Which is why reparations remain a hot topic. When the now Prince and Princess of Wales visited Jamaica in March, there were protests and demands for an official apology. Some now hope that comes from the new king. Under the court system here, which mirrors England's, if there were to be an official apology, it could well open the door to reparations. Tom?
Kerry Sanders for us from Jamaica tonight. Kerry, we thank you. For more on how Commonwealth nations and the world will come to view King Charles, I want to bring in NBC News contributor Wilfred Frost. Wilfred, we heard the debate over the Commonwealth nations recognizing King Charles. Do you think we'll see a lot of these countries reject him as a symbolic figurehead, if you will? And will this be Charles' first real test?
Listen, I think there's certainly a chance of that, Tom. Clearly, the number of countries outside the UK that the British monarch is head of state of has already been in decline over the course of the last 70 years under Queen Elizabeth's reign. It's now standing at just 15 and fell from 16 very recently when Barbados voted to have a ceremonial president instead of the monarch. The only thing I would say about that is it probably doesn't actually come as a great surprise or great shock to the king. I think this trend
had already begun. And I just remind you of a sentiment that the royal family has always had here from a speech that the Queen gave back in 1967 in Canada, which she said, "We believe in government by consent and that our system can only work if we all want it to work." So, yes, the number of countries that the King is head of state in probably will continue to decline. But I think that the royal family only wants to be head of state where they are wanted.
It is a good reminder, Wilfred. I want to ask you also, King Charles is in his 70s, and I want to talk about the relationship with Prince William. Do you think King Charles will be focused on leaving his mark on the monarchy, or do you think part of him will be setting the stage for his son?
I think it's a really fascinating question, and I do think the important thing between the two of them is that their relationship works. It's functional. Behind the scenes, it's probably actually warmer as well than it looks. Of course, these are two adults aged 40 and 70 respectively, so there's not lots of public displays of affection anymore like when they were younger. But I do think that they get on very well, and we saw that as well by how quickly the King elevated William to the Prince of Wales. That could have taken a little bit longer, but he just got on with it because I think he trusts his son to deliver and do the job. And of course, has learnt so much from his own mother and probably wants to continue that trend by getting his own son ready for the job.
No doubt, a partner to the King, possibly. You know, Wilfred, you are from these areas. This is your monarchy. What do you think has been the most touching moment so far?
I think my answer until a few hours ago would have just been the overall tone, how unbelievably respectful it's been and how strangely warm and positive it's been, despite, of course, the very sad reason for these 10 days. But I have to say as well, I loved that service in St. Giles Cathedral. I love when there's a bit of a focal point for everything. And I have to say personally, I love hymns and these amazing performances that are being put on, particularly when I'm listening to them and not involved with singing them. And I think that the build-up now to the funeral itself will be just fantastic. And I'm sure it'll be a wonderful show, hopefully something that is fitting, as tough as that will be, to give Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth a proper send-off.
Wilfred Frost for us tonight. Wilfred, we thank you for that. Now to top stories Global Watch and the violent clashes in Chile. New video shows police using water cannons on protesters who were throwing objects at officers in Santiago. Some demonstrators also setting fires in the middle of the road. The violence came after nearly 2,000 people attended a peaceful march in remembrance of those who disappeared during a dictatorship in the 1970s. Officials in Western China are responding to reports of food shortages amid COVID lockdowns there. Residents in the Xinjiang province have posted on social media that they have no access to food, including milk or rice, and that there's limited access to medical treatment. Residents say they are also being censored. In a video statement, local leaders admitted to some of the issues and said they are working to fix them. And a powerful typhoon is battering Japan's southern islands. The storm packing nearly 90-mile-per-hour winds, downing trees and power lines. Residents also urged to seek higher ground amid heavy rainfall and massive waves. So far, no injuries or deaths reported. For those who showed up here in Edinburgh for the ceremony today, these crowds enduring hours of waiting, all for that brief moment to say goodbye to the woman who was more than a monarch, but a member of their extended British family.
For me, this year, unfortunately, I lost another two people close to my heart. So for me, this is a very big moment. And all my life, I heard about this amazing woman. I'm not from here. I'm from far away from here. But for me, it's not just your queen. It's my queen as well.
I just can't believe that she's not here, because obviously the whole of my life I've known the Queen, and it was just... Thursday was just dreadful news.
You can't help but think of people that you've lost. And I had a mother and a father that were the same age, and I lost them 2 years ago. So lots of other unrelated emotions come out too.
I gotta say my goodbye. Just heartbroken. Heartbroken. Never, ever, ever, ever see this again.
she meant the world. She was just like everybody's grandmother. She was a lovely woman.
My mum was born the same year as the Queen, and she had a sister. She went through the war years, Guides, Sea Rangers, all at the same time as the Queen, and she died in February. So I just felt it was sort of fate that I should come, not just for the Queen, but for my mum.
Queen was just unique. It's the least I can do to come here and pay my respects, along with everyone else. So just, the devotion she showed, the dedication, the love of her country and the Commonwealth.
I just wanted to be here just to show, the family that were caring, to show her last respects, and I can't believe she's dead. I know she was 96, but I cannot believe the Queen's dead. It's just... So I think it'll be a nice, well, no, it's not nice to see a funeral, but I think it'll be a thing I'll always remember.
And that does it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching Top Story. I'm Tom Llamas in Edinburgh, Scotland. Stay right there. More news on the way. And tonight we leave you with this scene. The lines of people still waiting to get into St. Giles Cathedral to pay their respects to the Queen they loved.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.